But he made it so easy, man, with the martial arts and all, stuff. But I'm bandwagon. I like to stay happy. So, whoever wins, I'll be happy with. Those words, spoken with that unmistakable high-pitched cadence, belonged to a man who once held the world in the palm of his hand. For nearly 30 years, Friday has been one of the most quoted, celebrated, and influential comedies ever made. It didn't just define a genre, it created one. At the center of this cultural hurricane was Chris Tucker, a young comedian whose performance as Smokey didn't just define the film, it changed his life forever. But the truth behind Friday is far more unsettling, complex, and dangerous than most people ever imagined. The story wasn't just a series of jokes. It was pulled from raw, real-life experiences tied to some of the most well-known figures in the industry. The film itself was shot under conditions that could have turned deadly at any moment, in a neighborhood where the rules of the street outweighed the rules of a movie set. Yet, the biggest mystery isn't what happened on that porch. It's why the man on the porch never came back. Decades later, we finally know the real reason why Chris Tucker refused to reprise the role of Smokey, walking away from tens of millions of dollars in the process. Welcome to Royal Time of Hollywood. Today, we are uncovering the hidden history, the improvised genius, and the spiritual conviction that defined Friday. The Ghetto Bird Flight Plan. Friday isn't just a movie. It's a cultural earthquake that defined 1990s comedy. For nearly 3 decades, fans across the globe have shouted iconic lines like, "You got knocked into next week," or the legendary by Felicia, without ever realizing just how close this masterpiece came to being buried. But here is the shocking reality. Friday almost didn't happen. The movie was released on April 28, 1995, directed by F. Gary Gray, a man who had never directed a feature film in his life. The production was a joint venture between New Line Productions and Ghetto Bird Productions, Ice Cube's own company. The budget? A measly $3.5 million. To put that in perspective, in 1995, that was roughly the cost of producing a single episode of a high-end network TV drama. Hollywood insiders called it a sleeper hit, but that implies the success was an accident. It wasn't. The success came from filling a void the industry didn't even know existed. Before 1995, movies set in the hood followed a grim, predictable pattern. Boys and the Hood, Colors, and Menace to Society were powerful, tragic stories about gang violence and death. Ice Cube saw a different reality. He famously stated that while the media showed the hood as nothing but menace, that wasn't the whole truth. People had fun in the hood. There was humor on the porch. There was light in the struggle. Cube and his writing partner, DJ Pooh, set out to create a hood classic, not a tragedy or a lecture, but a Saturday afternoon in the neighborhood. The script was built on the bones of real life. The scene where Craig gets fired on his day off, that actually happened to Ice Cube's cousin, a UPS driver. The character of Smokey? He was based on DJ Pooh's own past experiences. They were writing about their neighbors, not caricatures. The $10,000 risk. The casting of Chris Tucker was perhaps the biggest gamble in the history of modern comedy. Originally, DJ Pooh was supposed to play Smokey. He had written the role for himself. But New Line Cinema looked at the resume and saw a writer, not a star. They demanded a real actor. They looked at Chris Rock. They looked at Tommy Davidson. Both were proven, safe bets. But Cube had seen a 22-year-old kid from Atlanta on Def Comedy Jam who moved like he was plugged into an electrical outlet. That kid was Chris Tucker. Tucker's first audition was a disaster. He wasn't prepared. He thought he could just wing it. In the ruthless world of Hollywood, that's usually where the story ends. But Cube and Pooh saw a spark. They gave him a rare second chance. Tucker knew he was in over his head. He reached out to Angela Means, who played Felicia, to get her acting coach's number. Instead, Angela invited him over for a spaghetti dinner. Over a plate of pasta, she didn't just coach him. She interrogated him. She pushed him to find the soul of Smokey. By the time the plates were cleared, Chris Tucker had transformed. When he finally got the part, the paycheck was a mere $10,000. For a movie that would earn nearly $30 million in its initial run and hundreds of millions more on home video, It was a pittance. But Tucker didn't care. He wanted the porch. He wanted the opportunity. 20 days in the danger zone. The shooting schedule for Friday was a 20-day sprint. Most Hollywood films take 3 months. Friday had 3 weeks. This meant the pressure was astronomical. Because of the shoestring budget, they only had enough film for 2 takes per scene. If you messed up twice, the mistake stayed in the movie. But the real pressure wasn't the ticking clock. It was the location. The film wasn't shot on a safe studio backlit. It was shot at the corner of 126th Street and Normandy in South Central Los Angeles, the childhood neighborhood of director F. Gary Gray. This was Crip territory. In the mid-90s, the color red was a death sentence in that neighborhood. The production team had to implement a strict no red policy. If a crew member showed up in a red hat or red sneakers, they were sent home immediately. One accidental wardrobe choice could have incited a gang war. The neighborhood locals didn't care about the cameras. In the scene where Smokey is in the lowrider with Hector, you can see 2 men sitting on a wall in the background. Those weren't actors. They were residents who refused to move. The crew offered them money and even bit parts to get out of the shot. They refused. They just wanted to sit on their wall. The production gave up and filmed around them. Even the iconic Debo hitting red scene has a dark layer of realism. That house in the background? That was F. Gary Gray's actual childhood home. He chose it because he knew exactly how the light hit that porch, and he wanted the violence to feel as real as the pavement he grew up on. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to check out the other stories and shocking updates on our channel. We've covered many incredible celebrity journeys, tragic endings, and untold Hollywood secrets that you don't want to miss. Binge watch our previous videos to discover more surprising facts, emotional stories, and where your favorite stars are today. Your support helps us bring you more powerful content like this, so don't forget to explore, watch more, and stay tuned for the next video. The 35% improvisation. While the script was the foundation, the magic was the architecture. Ice Cube has admitted that roughly 35% of the movie was improvised. Faison Love, who played the terrifying Big Worm, recently revealed he didn't use the script at all. Every word out of Big Worm's mouth was Faison reacting in the moment. The Ford Pinto that Smokey drove wasn't supposed to be a mechanical disaster. It was just a cheap car they bought that kept breaking down. Every time you see a jerk or stall, that was real. Gary Gray kept it in because it made Smokey's struggle even funnier. Then there was the legendary moment that changed comedy forever. That iconic reaction wasn't even in the script. Chris Tucker improvised it on the spot. With only 2 takes allowed, he knew he had to deliver a line that would echo for decades. He channeled the neighborhood's raw energy and screamed, "You got knocked into tomorrow." It was a lightning strike of genius that turned a low-budget scene into a global cultural phenomenon on royal time of Hollywood. Even by Felicia was a throwaway moment of improv. Tucker turned a simple dismissal into a cultural weapon that would eventually become one of the biggest memes in internet history. The $1 million refusal. After Friday became a global phenomenon, the world expected Chris Tucker to return. Ice Cube went on to make Next Friday, 2000, and Friday After Next, 2002. But Smokey was gone, replaced by Mike Epps' Day. For years, rumors swirled. Fans thought Tucker was greedy. They thought he wanted $20 million and the studio wouldn't budge. But the truth is much more profound. In 1997, Chris Tucker became a born-again Christian. His faith completely rewired his perspective on his career. He looked at the character of Smokey, a man who smoked illicit substances, used constant profanity, and made light of bad habits, and he no longer wanted to be that representative. He didn't want to influence young people to follow in Smokey's footsteps. Ice Cube confirmed that they offered Tucker between $10 and $12 million to return for the sequel. Tucker turned it down. He didn't turn it down for more money. He turned it down for his soul. He walked away from a life-changing payday because the character no longer aligned with his spirit. While he went on to make $25 million for Rush Hour 3, he has never regretted leaving the Friday franchise behind. He chose his conviction over his most famous character. The legacy of the porch. Friday remains a masterpiece because it captured a moment in time that can never be replicated. It was a 20-day miracle born of spaghetti dinners, gang territory tension, and the raw genius of a 22-year-old kid from Atlanta. Chris Tucker's absence in the sequels is a testament to the man he became. Whether you agree with his religious reasons or not, you have to respect a man who puts his values above a $12 million check. He gave us Smokey for one perfect afternoon, and then he let him go. What do you think? Would the sequels have been better with Chris Tucker? Or did Mike Epps fill the void perfectly? Let us know in the comments below. We read them all at Royal Time of Hollywood. Before you head out, don't forget to click on the next video on your screen, like this video, and subscribe to Royal Time of Hollywood with the bell notification on for more deep dives into Hollywood history.